How's it? Legs, juicy pump, regardless of the fact that you won't find any illicit substances in my system, you know? None of that dirty boy needle injection stuff. Although I'd love to jam a needle directly into my quad, multiplying the mass by a denominator far too large for me to even consider. No can do, unfortunately. But posing was ridiculous, and as a result, I'm feeling pretty damn happy with the workout. The workout was pretty sick as well. Funny story, right? On Instagram, you see all these gents, you know, all these absolute men telling you that you're a pussy and you're not working hard enough. Well, most likely you aren't, in fairness. And I'm not claiming to be working hard enough either, but I like to think I'm trying to get there. Now, all of these big, muscular, perfect men who just seem to have life sorted to a T, honestly, they seem to be a bit of a pussy, to be honest, if you ask me. Like, these gents are the oaks in video games with the... In fairness, they always seem to be pretty jacked, but like, low-key, whenever they talk, you kind of want to throw your controller at the screen. And they're always talking, and the monologue is like fussing with your game. I'm sure you can relate. More recent than not, in the Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Legacy, I was playing. If you choose Slytherin house, actually I don't know if you choose, I think it's regardless of what house, when you follow the Slytherin gent, right, I think it's actually like the second main story where you learn all the forbidden curses. He is a pain, absolute annoyance to everything, everyone, every aspect of the game. You'll be casting your spells, sweating for your life, and this guy will be yapping in your ear. Ooh, that was a close call. Ooh, you think I didn't know it was a close call? I popped a potion last second. I could blimming see the light. And you have to point it out for me like I'm not fucking, you know, comprehending the situation at hand. Now, I find these Instagram gents pretty similar. Now, who's to say? I think sometimes it comes off wrong because, you know, it's kind of assertive. Now, there's nothing wrong with assertive, but more likely than not, you'll find people will be more receptive of things if you come at it from a more light-hearted approach. However, it can be argued that such topics, in the case of these very masculine men, aren't such soft topics, so you would kind of expect to come at it from a more assertive angle. But at the end of the day, no one really likes being called a pussy, and more often than not, they do call you a pussy. Now, you can use that as motivation, which many people do. However, I find that motivation is often short-lived. And you need to find the motivation within yourself in order for you to actually stop being a pussy. So, with that in mind, I found it very interesting this last week, because I'd been in, I wouldn't say a slump, I would rather say I've been relaxing for the last ever so many weeks. Not that long, probably a month. Ooh, nuts. Man down. Probably the last month I've been, you know, not as active as I would like to have been. Now, that being said, not in the sense that I'm slacking off in the things I need to do, just more so doing what I need to do as the bare minimum, and not really, you know, going out of my way to exceed and to, you know, strive to do even more, which is where you will more than likely find success. However, this last week I've picked myself back up and we're back at it. Now, the reason I relate this to the big scary men is because, turn your brights off. The reason I relate this to the big scary men is because they seem to give off this vibe that they are perfect and always at it and always on the grind. Now, I'm not to say that they aren't always on the grind. However, I know for a fact that they too have rest periods, whether that's short periods of time within short periods of time frequently, or a long period of time infrequently. Now, I think rest periods and a time for your mind to reset is so very crucial in order for, first of all, insanity, because you don't want to end up some dude on the street offering people missions and potions, because that's not ideal. And I reckon if you work yourself enough, you can more than likely blow a fuse in your head. And I'm always on the verge of blowing that fuse, so I try to be careful. But you know, I think it kind of shows by the fact that I spend, 10 minutes easily talking to a camera a day. So, you kind of get my vibe. Now, the importance behind these, short or long breaks, depending on the periods between them, is simple. If you've ever played video games, which I assume most of you would have, because that's what I ramble on about quite often, and if you don't have an interest in video games, you probably just like the sound or the background noise of my voice, which is kind of just fuzz at this point. So if you've played video games and you've come across a very hard boss, I'm sure a lot of you can confirm the more you play, the worse and harder the boss gets. And then you have a sleep, you come back the next day, bam, first try, finished. Maybe not first try, but first try is significantly better than you were doing yesterday. And then most likely within the next however many attempts, you'll beat the game. Same thing goes with muscle memory, which is actually quite interesting. I've seen it in rock climbing. People will attempt a level of rock climbing, like a higher level than they usually do. They'll attempt it, and they will fail. And fail on one specific section. And then all of a sudden they'll come back the next day after a rest, and your body has already managed to create muscle memory from the experience prior, that you are able to make the jump, make the movement that you need in order to reach that next rock. Now, speaking of the rock climbing, that was in reference to Magnus. If you've never watched him and you're a bit of a loose brain like me, I would recommend watching some rock climbing videos from Magnus. Very entertaining. Now, I think it's kind of valuable and kind of overlooked in general, the importance of rest, as we've just been speaking about. And it can kind of feel almost, I feel almost guilty when I allow myself to rest, because I know that I could be doing something and I could be working, however, and I don't know if it's entirely because I need the rest or if it's because I'm being lazy. And I spoke with someone recently, and they brought up a very valid point, and I think you can apply it pretty well regardless of that thought in your mind, is when you rest, if anything, it motivates you to work harder when you're working. And I couldn't agree more, because when you're resting, you allow your brain to relax, sit back, you can solve the problems from a distance, and then when you get back into the problems, you work harder. More than likely, your brain is feeling better, more refreshed for the situation, and yeah, you're gonna crack it. Anyway, I hope that was slightly insightful and a bit interesting, and I hope you've enjoyed watching. Don't take anything I say for fact, because I'm no doctor, no genius, no scientist. However, I'm just some fella. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you tomorrow.